see you guys in the dark.
I used to take the train into the city for work, and on a regular day I would park my car in the garage at the train station, because this option was much quicker and saved me the wear and tear on my already struggling car. On this day, my car was in the shop getting worked on, so I had my girlfriend drop me off at the train station and asked my father to pick me up in the evening. Now, my father is notorious for being late, and despite me telling him that I would be there 30 minutes before my train arrived when I got into the platform, he was nowhere to be seen. I called him asking how long he would be, and he gave me the typical grunt and responded, "Soon." I took a seat on the bench and prepared to wait when I was approached by a man in a business suit. This was not uncommon, because many businessmen and women rode the train every single day. He walked up to me, asked if he could sit for a moment. He had his phone in his hand and kept looking at it, putting it to his ear periodically, clearly checking if he could hear anything on the line. As he sits, he looks at me and says, "I hate these phones. They never work when you need them to." I look back and just give him a nod and say, yeah, I know." He tells me that he just had an interview at his dream job in the city, and the employer told him that he would contact him with an answer around this time. He then asked if I could do him a favor and give me his phone to call to make sure that he had service, and to be sure that his phone was working properly. Really not thinking about it, I agree, and then handed him my phone. I'm not afraid of him running away with it, because while he is a grown man, I am not little, and confident that I would beat the shit out of this guy. He dials away, and without hesitation, his phone rings. I had a thought pop into my head. That sneaky son of a bitch. He just wanted my number. I should explain why I immediately thought of this. I apparently have some look gay men are attracted to. I've been approached on multiple occasions, and I have asked if, by looking at me, they think that I'm gay. Most say no, but they feel comfortable trying. It's a compliment, at its core at least, but happens more than I am comfortable with. As this guy in the suit is pretending to be relieved his phone works, I'm not angry at him. I thought that it was a little clever, and shrugged it off as, "You got me." He gives me my phone back. I open it up pretending to look at something important, hoping that he would just go away. He didn't. He just sat there watching me. I was getting uncomfortable. And when I am put in a situation, my general response is impulsive, and I want to fight. I'm not homophobic or anything, but he was like 3 inches away from me, and just looking directly at me. I could feel my blood pumping. I started to repeat myself. "Keep it up. I'm going to bite your face off." I have a much bigger bark than bite, but can confidently say that if you get on my wrong side, I will swing at you. I look at him and ask if there was anything else that he needed. And the creep didn't flinch, just sat there looking at me with a stupid grin on his face. I think he knew I was on to him, and he thought that it was funny. It really wasn't. To my amazement, before I told this guy to go fuck himself, my father pulls up. I quickly get to my feet and walk towards the car, not acknowledging him or looking back. My father makes a joke when I get into the car, asking if that was my boyfriend because of the way that he was looking at me. I laugh and say no. Not a chance that I was going to tell my father what the creep was up to. I did this for his sake. My father is a very hard man. Went to prison, has been shot, has found God, and is a wonderful man now, but not the man that you want to piss off, especially when it comes to his kids. Later that night, I was writing a paper for college when my phone rings. I don't recognize the number, but it only takes me a second to realize that it's the guy. I answer. "Hello?" "Hi, I have a missed call by this number." "Sorry, man, I don't know. Must have been the wrong number." "Are you sure? I feel like I recognize your voice. I think that we know each other." "Nope, I don't know you, and I don't recognize your voice. You have the wrong number." I'm telling you, I think I know you. Where do you live? Maybe we're neighbors." "Okay, guy, I know who this is, and didn't want to be mean. I know what you're doing, and I'm not interested. Please don't call again." I was satisfied that I did not lose my cool. I went back to my paper, initially forgot about the call. About 10 minutes after the call, I got a text saying something about how he will take care of me. Still on my "I'm not going to lose it" mode, I just laugh and block the number. Fast forward a few months. I'm with a friend getting a coffee. My phone goes off. Says I have a voicemail, and I still don't know how I got it without my phone ringing. When I listen to the voicemail recorded, something like, "Hello, Chris. This is Dr. Smith. I want to confirm our appointment tomorrow and let you know that we have changed offices. My secretary is on vacation, so if there's no response, just be aware your appointment has been moved to tomorrow, and our new office is located at this place." I listened to the voicemail and thought, shit, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow? However professional the voicemail sounded, it didn't feel right about. For one, I had no clue who Dr. Smith was, and I didn't remember making any appointments. I was trying to figure it out. I was even going as far as thinking my insurance requires a yearly physical or something. I listened to my voicemail a few more times, and on the third or fourth time, it hit me. I don't know how, but I recognized this dude's voice. It was the man from the train station. I told my friend. He suggested that we drive by the address that he listed. When we arrived, we were at these old mill buildings. The area I live in is historic for its mills during the Industrial Revolution. And recently, there have been a lot of construction renovation and turning them into offices and apartments, so nothing stood out just yet. We parked outside. I needed to see the 5th floor, like the voicemail said. We didn't need to go all the way up to the 5th to see that its building was completely empty. I was surprised that we could walk in. No bells rang when looking at the rustic exterior of the building, because even the finished mills had preserved that old look on the outside. However, on the inside this place is deserted and falling apart. You can tell homeless people stay here because there were a few dirty mattresses and other signs people have been there. My friend and I look at each other, both let out a small wail and run out of there half scared, half laughing. However, when we got back to the car, I was not laughing anymore. I was pissed, and to this day I wish that I reacted more responsibly. I should have called the police and tried to set him up, but instead I called him back, and when he answered, I immediately told him to drop the act. I told him that I wasn't going to call the cops, but when or if I ever saw him, I would murder him. I was screaming into the phone, telling him all the horrible ways that I would take his life if he kept it up. I never heard from him again, but I can honestly admit, after my anger went away, I considered the full scope of what he had planned, and it shook me up for days. What on earth had he planned? What would he have done to me? Rape? Murder? Who knows? I'm a 23-year-old female from the UK. This happened when I was 17. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was January the 2nd, 2012. My boyfriend and I had just parted ways for the night. I was 3 miles away from my home, and the only way towards it was down a long, dimly lit road. Houses adorned the one side, while pubs and businesses were present on the other. It was around 7:30 p.m., and being winter, it was extremely dark. My mother had warned me against walking down the road on my own, but against my better judgment, I decided to walk down that street. About 5 minutes into my walking, I could hear someone or something through the music that I was listening to. I looked behind me to see a man, wearing his hood up, had a baseball cap on, dressed in mostly dark colors, doing some kind of walk or jog type deal to catch up with me. I immediately panic, as I don't like strangers at the best of times, and I'm very awkward. I quickly take my earphones out, tuck them in my pocket, unsure what this man's intentions were. He catches up to me and begins walking alongside me. "Hey," he says. I don't answer him. I don't even acknowledge him. "Hey, I saw you walking up there." He then asks, "Hey, how are you?" Clearly not getting the hint that I want to be left alone, I reply, "Good, thanks. I'm on my way home." I pick up my pace slightly, trying to make it obvious that I do not want to talk to him. He asks me what my name is. Again, being on high alert, I give him a fake name. Charlotte. Charlotte, that's a nice name. I get this creepy vibe from him. Sneaking a quick look, I see this guy has a ton of facial scars, and his eyes are practically bulging out of the sockets. "So what's your name?" I ask him, feigning politeness and trying not to show my fear. "The boys call me the doctor." I ask him, "Doctor?" he replies. "That's me. Speaking of boys, would you like to come and meet my friends?" Panicking more now, I reply no, that I've got to go home. I keep walking, cursing at myself inside my head. If only I had listened to my mother. Why did I walk down this road alone? "Come with me," he says, slightly pulling on my jacket arm. "What do you mean? What for?" The fear now breaking out of my voice. He replies, "I need a favor." "What favor?" He then asks me for a blowjob, and I'm freaking out at this point. I felt numb all over, and although I had a phone on me, I couldn't discreetly call 999, as I didn't know if this guy had a knife or a weapon on him. His crazed expression would have been enough to put anyone on edge. I reply to this creep, "Listen, I don't do that kind of stuff, doctor." He begins to get a little more persistent, saying that he hasn't had a woman in such a long time, pulling at my jacket arm with more force than before. He attempted to nudge me towards the dark, empty parking lots. I continued walking as fast as I possibly could, to which he was telling me to slow down, and that he doesn't know anyone who walks that fast. He had to jog just to keep pace. I finally reached the town, which has 2 miles from my home, but no way was I leading this guy back to my house, so I decided to go to a local supermarket, which was open 24 hours. I could have cried with happiness, being that there were people all around, but this guy was still latched onto my side, now staying deathly silent since we were in the public eye. Instead of acting like a normal person and asking for help, I panicked and decided to go to the restroom. A stupid move, I know. In hindsight, I would have immediately told someone of my predicament, but I was 17 at the time, and being extremely scared caused me to make that one mistake. I headed to the restroom, which to me was a safe haven, until he followed me into the toilets. That's when he grabbed me by my arm. He kicked open one of the stall doors and growled, "Get in!" Through tears, I told him that I don't do that. He again growled at me to get in a more furious tone than before, tugging at my arm. And then, miraculously, one of the shop's employees had been using one of the stalls. She came out and sees Doctor, a male in a woman's toilet, and immediately tells him that you cannot be in here. This is the woman's bathroom. He looked shocked as he looks at me, then back to the woman, then back to me. He then tells me that I'll be waiting outside for you, Charlotte, quickly takes his leave, giving one last foul glance over his shoulder before the restroom door swings shut. At that moment, my legs buckle from underneath me, and I start sobbing my heart out. The employee asked me if I was okay, to which I told her about the ordeal that I had endured for the past half an hour. I told her now I didn't have any idea who this man was, and that he had just begun following me. She then told me to get into one of the stalls, lock it, and don't open it until it was another employee. In the 5 minutes that I was in the stall, my mind raced. I had never felt so vulnerable in all of my life. My heart was still beating hard. My legs were like jello. I was emotionally and mentally spent. I was fully expecting the door to be kicked open by Doctor, but it never happened. Instead, the door knocked. It was an employee, informing me that the police were on the way, and then she guided me out of the cafe where they gave me a free drink to settle my nerves. I felt like a little kid again, in a world full of adults, explaining my experience again, to which the 3 staff, 2 of them women and 1 man, couldn't believe how brave I was. The one woman commenting on the fact that you wouldn't expect it to happen to someone as well dressed as I was. After all, I was never one for skirts or heels. I favored my baggy jeans and Converse sneakers. Before long, I felt someone grip my shoulder. It was him again. "Are you coming, Charlotte?" I didn't look at him. I didn't talk to him. I just froze. I just sat there looking at the staff in desperation. That's when a very burly security guard escorted him back outside. One staff member kept me talking, while a few more watching him on CCTV. The creep had been standing outside, waiting for me for about half an hour. After 45 minutes, the police arrive and give me a ride home. I had to give a statement in front of my mother, who was both horrified, but at the same time, a very matter-of-fact, serves-you-right type attitude. For weeks, I had to go to and from the police station to give more in-depth statements, one being recorded on tape. Another time, I had to try and identify Doctor through pictures of sex offenders, and alas, the Doctor was never caught. I can't even imagine what could have happened to me if that woman wasn't in that stall that night, or if I hadn't come to the common sense to go to a brightly lit public place. One thing is for certain, I never walk down that road anymore, and if I'm out after dark, I always have someone with me, as I cannot make it 50 feet without feeling uneasy that someone may be following me. I also carry pepper spray at all times, even though it's classed as an offensive weapon and is illegal to carry around in the UK. I won't be making that same mistake twice, trust me.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.